What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet to another tutorial. So this time we are no longer just uploading a file. Remember, these files can be uploaded in different file formats. So let's say we're uploading something else. Let's say it's going to be song of the year, my favorite song. Now remember, this is going to depend based on your network speed or size of the file. Let me see if I even have any music in my PC. I doubt I actually have any songs, but I think I do some edits. So I've got some audios that I've got. Alright, like this one is a car door opening and it's an MP3. If I click upload, it is refreshed. If I come back to my file, which already had the previous one, you will see that we now have two different files, which is this MP3 or this PNG and the MP3, all with different timestamps are together, but they are all still kept in the same folder, which is going to be our documents folder. Now that being done, let's go to a new concept of displaying the information, because this is one of the most important things. So for us to be able to display the information, obviously it means that we're going to create a new view. So I'm going to just close off any other resources that we don't need. Alright, view. Now with this one, I'm just going to call it data view. So it's a new file. I'm just going to call it data underscore view dot blade dot php, and it's still going to be an HTML file format. Now what's going to be happening is if someone goes on our welcome page, they should be able to also still display the information. So we can just create a nice, we can call it an anchor tag or a nice tag that is going to allow them to see the information. So anchor, and we create our URL. By now, yes, we do make mistakes, but we should now be more familiar of what is happening and how it is happening. So let's call this a display data route, and we can say it view uploaded files. If we refresh, yeah, something like that. Now let's just add some breakline tags. Refresh, yeah, it's a little bit far from the main file upload. So meaning that when we click on this, as you can see on the bottom of the page, it should take us to a new route. Now obviously when we go to this new route, we need to be able to access the page that we referred to. Now this page is called data view. So for that to occur, it now means that we need to create a function that is going to allow us to come back to that page. So on our file controller, make sure you are creating it still in your file. So this is our first, so I'm just going to comment second function, and then in our second function, this is where we are going to be creating our function, public function. Now this function, well, let's call it display, because that is all it is going to be doing. So let's call it display, and it is not going to be receiving any information and so forth and so forth. So as always, data is going to be equal to the name of our model, which is products, but we want to see everything within the system. And then we're going to do a return view of the page that we mentioned, and we said our page is called data underscore view. Now remember, in as much as we are displaying and returning on a page, we need to specify that we're also sending data inside the view. So we specify the function called compact, and we specify what we are compacting. It's the information from our model, meaning that now we need to create a secondary route, which in as much as we had just created the route over here on our welcome.php, we did not create it. We just created the name, but we didn't create it where our routes actually go. So on where our routes actually go, we now need to specify the route, which is going to be route, and this time we're not sending anything, so it's a get function, get the data. Now we are also going to specify our controller, which is file controller inside the class, and inside the class it is going to be utilizing the function that we called what? Display. Don't forget your semicolon. So we come back to our page, we optimize, including the new route. If we come back over here, refresh, remember we still have 2 items. We can now go to a page. Oh, data view not found. Alright, that's fine. We should now be able to go to a page data view. So let's take a look at our file controller. Return a view of data view, compact for data. Alright, that's perfectly fine, not a problem. So display data should now send us to a function called display, and the function called display should return a view of a page called what? Data view. And the reason why it's not showing is because of how I mentioned here. So I think I would have to close it and rename it. F2, Windows F2. So I need to rename my view over here. I had written it as bold, not blade. .blade.php, like that. We save, we come back, we re-optimize, we come back over here. It takes us to a blank page, which is good. So now on our blank page, which is literally this page, we can now just come back and say, alright, please forgive me, I like centering some information for better viewing. We can now just have maybe an H1 that says information from the table, like that. Meaning that now when we come back and click over here, we get the specific what? Specific text. Now when we go on dataview.blade, well, we need to see the information, but remember, the way we see this information is determined by how we structure it. So for your information inside the database to come out looking a little bit nicer, this is going to be the same as what we did in CRUD by creating a table command or a table what? Table view. So we say table, and obviously a table will start with a table row, which has table headings. Now these headings include number 1, a title, number 2, number 3 for now. So they're going to include the title, they are going to include the description, and they're going to also include one of the most important things, the file. Now I'm going to show you a few key things that are going to be what? Different. Now outside of this table heading, we're going to create again another table row, which is going to now contain the information. Now already we are going to be getting information from our file, which is coming from, if we take a look at our file controller, we're sending it as data. So meaning that on over here, it'll be nice for us to say, or for us to utilize a looping statement at for each, and this each statement is going to be receiving data as what? Data. And this is going to be the end of the loop, which is end for what? Each loop. Now we're going to have table headings. Sorry, we had table headings in the previous one. This time it's table data, so TD. It is going to be receiving data. So for the first one, which is title, obviously we're going to have to mention the name of the column, which is what? Title. Like that. And since we have 3 items, it's going to be title. This one is going to be description, the way we put it, not the way we wrote it at the top. And this one is going to be file. Now let's just confirm with our database. We've got title, description, and file. Title, description, file. Once we're done, we save. We come back, we refresh the page. As you can see, there's our information, the title, the icon, and the file name. Now, obviously we want it to look good, right? So we can just add a border so that this information can come out looking a little bit much more reasonable. Border, and let's give our border a pixel size of 1px. Yeah, we refresh. There we have a lookable table for now. So as you can see, this is just the file, but we need to be able to view or download the file. So for that to occur, we can include another table heading. Since we're going to be downloading and viewing the file, so let's call this one download, and let's call this one view online. If we refresh, we've got those 2 new columns added, meaning that as well we're going to add 2 columns over here, but one at a time. So the next one is we're going to create a new table data. This time we want to be able to download the file. Now to download is like sending someone on a specific mission, so we're going to utilize an anchor tag. And this anchor tag, we're going to call it download. Now obviously if it's an anchor tag, it means that we're going to be utilizing a route, so URL, and this URL, let's call it download file. So we copy our route for us to be able to download the file, and we go and create a new route for us to be able to download the actual file. So when we come over here, we're still not doing anything that is sending data, so it is route get, and then we specify the download file. But then remember, we are sending a file, so mean that within our route we need to specify what is being sent utilizing the what? The primary key. Now if we take a look at where we have our information, which is on the data view, it is sending us a file here, so mean that when we are downloading, we also need to specify that, alright, yes, we are downloading a file, but this file came with this specific file name. So we can say comma $data with the what? File. We save that. Then we come back over here. Now over here, we are no longer just going to specify that this is data and so forth, but we are going to specify just the file. So we're going to say download data, then we specify the column, which is going to be file, and as always our file controller, which is within our class, and the name of the function that is going to allow us to what? To download. So I'm just going to call it download. It's a file name, by the way. Sorry, a function name, by the way. Download semicolon. Then we can now come back into our file controller and create a function that allows you to download. Now remember, this is just for download purposes, so this becomes our third function. Public class, a function called download. But then remember, this public class function, sorry, public function, not public class, public function called download is not just coming alone, it is coming with a variable called what? File. So that it knows exactly what is it going to be what? Downloading. Alright, so public function called download, there it is. Now all it just needs to do is give us a response for us to be able to download the file. So we just have to give it a statement that says, it does not have to find, it already knows, so return a response. Now this response is the one that opts or that tells it to download. So download, but where? It is going to be downloading from number one, the public path that we created, and we specify the name of the public path. It was called documents when we did create the name of the folder, and it is going to concatenate with the variable file. I'll just re-explain that once again. So unlike prior, when you had to download, you had to first find the file in the database and so forth. This time we're not going back in the database, but what we are doing is we are just going to go directly in where the downloads are going to be stored. So the function returns the file name, and then we just return a response, whereby this response, or sorry, it's supposed to be a response with a C. This response will actually allow us to perform a download from a public path location called documents, and within this documents it is supposed to look for a file name with this name, meaning that if we had to first look for the file with a specified name, that specified name is the one that is going to be found, or that is going to be looked for inside the public folder called documents. At the end, we end with the semicolon. We come back to our page, we optimize, and then let's just go back, we view our uploads. So meaning that if we click download, the file for Ghost Ink Toots, this one is the one that we're supposed to get. If we click download over here, it is supposed to get us this MP3 document. Download, as you can see, it is already saving us this file. Now let's just save it in a different folder called videos. We click save. Now let's go in our public folder, look for this file. This is public folder. This is the file, right? If we go to our downloads, this is the file that was what? Downloaded. So this is basically how you download from specified places, by you specifying the location and utilizing a download response option. Now, to end off our last tutorial for this time, we are going to manipulate, or we are going to allow us to be able to view the file online. So back again to our page where we're going to be viewing our file online. For us to be able to view our file online, we also have to create a route. But then this route is going to allow us to view the file without downloading the file. So as always, td with an anchor tag. Now we can call it view online because we're not downloading it, and we can now also specify a specified nice route that is going to allow us to be able to what? To view the file online. So URL create a very catchy view file, right? Just like what we did prior, we specify which file is going to be what? Viewed. So like that. Now what we mainly need over here is the route, because we still know it's going to utilize a file name like this. Alright, then we go into our web.php, we create a new route, which is still getting information, by the way. We are not posting anything, we are still just getting information. Get that. But then we are also getting information specifying the file, like what we did in our previous route. So file controller inside the class, and inside the class we're going to utilize a function, let's just call it vFile for lack of a better word. We save. Now when we're viewing a file, it is always nice to view a file online on a certain page, on a certain place, but it'll be actually nicer for you to view the file on a page of its own. So we're going to create a new page or a new view. I'm just going to call it vv.blade.php. This time I didn't make a mistake. It's an HTML file as well. We can include some headers and so forth, but we can do that later. Now we have created the v file, which is going to be the function name. Then we go back into our file controller, where we create again another application, which is going to be our fourth application, our fourth function, fourth and last for the tutorial, public function. It's called that, and that public function is going to be receiving information through file like the previous ones. Now after that is done, we now have to specify as to which file and how we're going to be viewing it. Now we can create a new variable to store this information, so that we can call it my file, because that's what we're going to be viewing. My file is going to be getting the same information as that, or you can call it file equals file, it's up to you, but just to show that there's a difference. Then we can return a view, but then this view is of the page where it's going to be viewed from, so it's going to be vv, and it is going to compact the information. But what information is it compacting? It is only compacting my underscore file. Right? Now this doesn't mean that the function is going, or the information is going to be still viewed on this page. What we still need to do on this page is obviously make it an h1, call it online file or whatever you want to call it. Now data inside a database, which is strings, integers, and whatever that's text information, can be easily displayed. But then if you're displaying a file, it can be a PDF, it can be a video, it can be an audio. It is no longer just as a file, but it becomes what you call an iframe file. Now the iframe file is what you're going to be referring to as being displayed, and in this iframe file we're going to specify number one, where it is stored, and the name of this file, so which is going to be the source, sorry, not a URL, the source. Within the source, it is supposed to be found inside a folder called what? Documents. And inside documents, we are now going to give it the name of the file that is going to be what? Sent, or that is going to be viewed. Now automatically when you add an iframe, so when you add an iframe tag inside HTML, it gives you a width and a height, because sometimes you want to have a specified width and a height to view certain things. Now for width, it is always just going to be, give it 100% for width, because you want it to be as visible as possible. For height, don't give it a height that's too big, so you can play around with maybe 800 pixels as well, something like this. Now you did not specify the specific file, but each file is going to be different, and it's going to be viewed on this page called vv. So after that, we update our routes as always. We come back, We refresh. As you can see, we can now view files online. So if it's this PNG, we view it. As you can see, it opens over here. We can mess around with the size so that it doesn't display so big, so it doesn't display in a so big size. If it's the song or this audio, as you can see, it even adds these tags for you. Now if we had to upload a video, let me see my video. Do I even have a video? Let me call it content in terms of description. Do I have a very tiny video? Let me see. Oh yeah, I think I do have inside pictures, inside files. There must be a very tiny video that I use for my end screen for YouTube. I'll upload it. Uploaded. Let's view. Yes, it's there. Now if we go into our public folder, so it's under documents, inside of Laravel, file handling, public, documents. As you can see, we now have an MP4 which is 15 megabytes. If we download it, we can still get the MP4 but with a different name. And if you view it online, as you can see, it even has button tags for you to be able to pause, increase the volume, maximize, reduce, and an option to download, change the playback speed, and so forth. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this tutorial. I hope you have a lovely day.